Hello there.
How you doing, you pirate? So good to see you.
Oh, switch off.
Everything's under control. Situation normal.
We would be honored if you would join
Well, you're
us.
listening to the Wampa Diaries. I'm your host, Nick Einsman, joined as always by my non-theory cousin, the host with the most. He's shaved, and he's not wearing his glasses. Richard Anthony DeRuvo.
Daiwanawanga.
So we're coming.
I'm
to you a
never
little bit-
wearing my glasses anymore.
I've seen you wear your glasses multiple times. Yeah, you pop that Zinnerino.
The Zinster.
The Zinster. All right, so we have a few things to clear right off the top from last week's episode, or last week's episode, because there was a couple things that we were very wrong about. Very, very, very wrong about. I don't remember what they were, but I know there was things that I was like, oh, we talked about that in this podcast, and I don't remember what they were, and I thought about it at lunch today, and guess what? I forgot.
The Escape.
What about the escape?
We said that there was going to be like a daring escape, and there wasn't.
Yeah, it was just they just kind of walked out. There's really no...
Well, there was like the piece with the ship.
Yeah, but were the kids in any real danger? But did you die?
They were definitely in danger.
But did you die?
No, they didn't die.
It's
They
like
were
that meme from The Hangover that with the...
I know
the
what
Asian
it
guy.
is.
Yeah. It's just Jude Law. But did you die? I will say I like this episode a lot. It made me feel... It kind of eased a lot of my worries about this show in general. Yeah. What'd you think before we really dive into it? Give me your overall.
I liked it. It was fun. There's funny parts. It wasn't like it didn't go where I thought it was gonna go, but that's fine. I thought it was good. It held up to the first two, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I liked this one was longer. Back to 40 minutes as opposed to half an hour. That was cool. I did like I like how we're seeing KB's development. And she's starting to like flesh herself out where she's not just the lackey of Fern, right? She's like actually thinking about things in a more, I guess, mature way, right? Where Wim is very like optimistic and like go lucky and oh my god, this guy's a Jedi, and Fern's like he's not a Jedi and like we shouldn't trust him regardless. Where KB is looking at it for face value.
Well, KB doesn't trust him.
Well, yeah, she doesn't trust him, but she's like not. Where Fern is super negative and Wim is super positive, right? I think that KB is dead set in the middle, and I think that everything that Crimson Jack, Silvo, Jada Unakana, whatever the fuck his name is, Jude Law, hasn't really done anything to prove that he's worth being trustworthy.
Well, quite the contrary. He's like done the opposite.
Yeah, but she was specifically told by Kim, the owl lady, not to trust her.
To trust him. Owl cat.
It was pretty cool. The fact that he was locked up in a cell on a pirate's literal, just in a pirate jail. Let's see what else. The fact that he wouldn't go back for SM33.
He's out for himself.
He's out for himself. It's not trustworthy. When they asked him again if he was a Jedi, he was like, well, I never actually said that. Which we all knew, he probably wasn't a Jedi. I don't know. I can see the gears turning in your head, and I'm waiting to either get ripped a new asshole or like...
No, I mean, like, he's not. Clearly. I mean, if he was, then he wouldn't have said what he said. So, like, somehow he's learned how to use the Force, but isn't a Jedi, which is fine. Like, there have been those people in the world.
Right.
But, so, I guess the question will be, like, what is he actually, who is he? And like, who taught him how to do this stuff? I mean, like, I'm going to be really, like, disappointed if he's like, oh, I just taught myself how to do telekinesis, because of what we talked about last time. Like, very, like, typically you don't have that. Typically you don't have, like, you know, somebody actually able to...
Yeah, to just pick up the Force.
Yeah, to just, like, use it like that, you know?
Well, I guess this is a good time to, like, jump into theories, right?
Okay.
So, what do we know about the show, right? It is heavily... It has to do heavily with pirates, right? Who do we know that was a pirate and scoundrels and ran in the underworld and, you know, under the underbelly of society?
This is gonna be the shittiest. Whatever you're about to say,
What did
is gonna be
what
so
did Kim the cat lady call
fucking
him?
bad. Crimson Jack.
What was Darth Maul's
Oh.
crime syndicate? Yeah, get fucked. You thought I was going on a rampage of, like, nowhere.
Did you come up with this all by yourself?
So I was talking to Jack about it, and then I was, like, watching Screen Crush, and then Ryan Airy had, like, a come to Jesus moment when he had a couple of guys, like, on their podcast, and I was like, holy shit, I knew I was onto something.
So this is already out there in the interwebs.
It's
this
already
theory?
out there in the interwebs.
Crimson
But I
Dawn.
think that, like, it's very possible that him and Brutus worked under Maul. So I did some background research into Brutus's species, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they have the ability to control light around them. That's why they're always so dark. Like, remember that scene in the cantina where, like, all you really saw was the eyes and the silhouette, but you couldn't make out the actual face?
Mm-hmm.
That is a trait that these species have, and as they get older, they start to lose that trait. So imagine those two under Maul in Crimson Dawn. Like, it kind of makes sense. Now, this is also, like, a super big stretch because we haven't seen Maul since... Obviously, if you go into Rebels, you see how he dies, but we haven't seen him since Han Solo. Or Solo.
Yeah, we don't know how long. Well, this guy could have been... based on his age, we know he was alive. We did that last time. So Maul was the leader of Crimson Dawn for a long time. So if this guy was a criminal already, and he was part of Crimson Dawn, and, like, had dealings with Maul, and Maul recognized, like, oh, you have the ability to use the Force, I'm going to teach you some basic shit.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
That's pretty much it. I mean, that was kind of my thought process.
That actually makes sense. And then Crimson Jack. Yeah.
Like, oh, well, why would they be calling him Crimson Jack? Like, they have to know that, you know, there's a crime family called Crimson Dawn, right? Like, there's no way that they don't know about this. Yeah, so that I think that'd be a cool tie-in. I also really like what they're doing.
I would imagine, not to cut you off, but, like, I would imagine that Maul... I mean, we know when Maul dies.
Right.
So he still would have been old enough. I mean, like, because we said he was... If based on Jude Law's age, if they kind of matched the actor's age, that he would have been a couple years older than Anakin. So more than old enough to be able to have dealings with him and learn some stuff. Oh, wow. So Crimson Dawn actually ended with the death of Maul. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he could have been one of, like, the last remnants of it, right? And then just, like...
Well, like, yeah, when he was gone,
it was it. But everyone already knew him as Crimson Jack. But it also feeds into my theory.
I mean, either way, like, if he came from Crimson Dawn, he had made a name for himself, and then... So he became Crimson Jack because he was from this huge crime syndicate.
Right.
Yeah.
It also leads into my theory of him being the Jack Sparrow of the Star Wars universe, but, like, that's neither here nor there. It's mostly because his name's Jack.
That's actually a really like interesting theory. I bet you that's what it is. If not, it's kind of a missed opportunity.
I think it'd be a highly missed opportunity if it wasn't.
What if we get like flashbacks with Maul?
Dude, if we get Ray Park back as Maul for even 2 minutes of
Just
live action,
like to show,
just to show him,
if he's telling that story or whatever.
my faith in Star Wars will be semi-restored.
It's actually a really good theory.
I would be like semi-restored about it. Now, the other thing that like that makes me think about this, right, is let's look at what we learned about Attin this episode, right? It was one of 8 crown jewel planets of the Old Republic. Now, 7 of them got destroyed. Attin was the only one that didn't get destroyed. Now, who probably...
Did they say that?
Yeah, they did say that.
I didn't hear the destroyed thing.
Yeah, so only one of them survived, which was Attin. So who would know these things, right? People that have access to thousands of years of Republic knowledge. Who held all of this knowledge at the fall of the Jedi? Palpatine, right? Who probably knew about this before that even happened? Palpatine. Who was Palpatine's first apprentice before Vader? Maul. So how this is like, my thought process here is, well, Maul fed his followers, we're going to find this planet. We're going to find Attin. Not knowing that Palpatine, and this is just a theory here, already had his fingers pretty much wedged within Attin. Because I have a very strong feeling that this is how we're going to see the First Order rise. Like, get all the money for everything.
You think they're going to try to connect this to the sequel trilogy?
I would be shocked if they don't connect it to anything. It's either that or it's how they're fueling Thrawn's return. Or funding Thrawn's return. But I would like to see them try and tie into that. Like, listen, we got left with the stupidest line ever in the sequel, the ending of the sequel trilogy of somehow Palpatine's return. How the fuck has that happened? And we've seen that within Bad Batch. We've seen that within Mando, right? Of like little things here and there. And I think that this shit, like this, would be a nice, I don't want to say unsuspecting way of doing that, because no one, so it's a kid show, like it's not going to be like, it's not going to have any tie-ins, and then it could actually be like one of the most significant things to show how this happened. Like, we haven't seen the supervisor. We don't know who they are. It could be a robot, for Christ's sakes. It could be one of those red, like, Palpatine bots that was in Battlefield 2.
I guess, like, I'm having trouble, like, connecting the dots on all that.
I can bring out the whiteboard if you want.
Like, you think you're saying, like, Palpatine has worked this planet into, like, his contingency plan?
100%. I think it would be stupid for them to not try and tie that loose end up.
I don't know. I think that's a stretch. I see what you're saying, but like I think it's a stretch. I think it's a huge stretch to say like somehow he's in control of this planet, even if it's through one of those like bots that he had or whatever that like took on his consciousness.
Well, it could have been one of the bots. It could have been a Sith loyalist that we saw on what was that planet at the end of The Last Jedi?
Oh, like Exegol.
Yeah, it could have been one of those guys.
And so you think like, okay, to get the money, because it's a rich plan, to get the money to be able to build the First
they
Order.
literally analyze different currencies. Why don't they have any outside contact with the Republic, the New Republic? because someone doesn't want them to have outside contact with the New Republic.
Hmm.
The kids didn't know that Alderaan was destroyed.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because like they didn't know that, and then they're like, "What, did you miss the war?" And they were like, "There's a war. There was a war," but like we saw him looking at like the picture that like referenced Luke fighting the Rancor. So like,
Well, okay, so
if this goes into like a deeper conversation, but that's fine. Like, if Palpatine were running shit, do you really think he would allow like publicity about like propaganda about Jedi and shit like that?
So here is what I was thinking about with that, and I thought the same thing until Fern's mom said a very specific line about how her kids, or her and her friends when they were kids, used to get lost and like the security bots would bring them around. I think that all of that tech and all of those story pads are so fucking old, right? Like it's all Old Republic.
No, it shows Luke fighting the Rancor.
But is it? Are we assuming that it's Luke, or is it actually Luke?
I
No,
mean,
I'm serious. I'm not like I'm not trying to be an asshole.
I mean,
here.
you can say it was anything, but like they focused on it.
Wim doesn't know that. It doesn't say Luke Skywalker and Arabesh on it. It just
I
says the
realize
Jedi.
that, but like, why would Palpatine even allow stuff like that to be published?
Maybe to just, okay. So we'll get to that part in a second too. But I think that all of that stuff has been there for centuries. Centuries, dude.
What, that
Like,
the media?
yeah.
So then
It's
how
all,
would it?
it's all campfire stories.
But then how would it?
Right, because let's look.
It doesn't line up. Then how would it get? They wouldn't have the picture of Luke. That
But
wasn't
again,
centuries.
We are assuming that it's Luke as the viewer. Put yourself in Wim's shoes. He doesn't come out and
No,
say
he doesn't know that it's.
You know, he doesn't know who it is. Now, like, listen, I understand where you're coming from wholeheartedly, but like, Wim has no idea who it is. They don't know any of the famous Jedi's. They just know Jedi's and Sith. They don't know like who's who. Now, let's also look at the fact that like that ship has been buried for God knows how long. You know what I mean? Like, I doubt highly anyone that's running the planet even knew that it was there. Because it probably crashed decades upon decades upon decades ago before all of this new protocols were coming in and all these generations were so used to being, like, overlooked.
So how long do you think
I don't know.
this has been going? Because like, if it's a contingency plan, then it would have to happen after Palpatine died, and like the adults there are old enough to know before and
then it
and
could
after.
be something with Plagueis.
I don't know, man. Like I really like it's not like a bad theory. It's just like I think it's too.
It's definitely out there. I'm not saying like this is the end all be all theory. I think that like this planet, like was one of them was spared. There's no like, it's not a coincidence. Why was this one planet spared?
Well, we don't know when they were destroyed either,
Exactly.
or how, by what. What were they destroyed by? Did they say that? I don't remember them saying that at all.
Yeah, no, they said it. Hold on a second. Yeah, no, they said it. So like, you know, I'm very, very interested to see where this season goes now. What are your thoughts? I see the gears running.
I wasn't like thinking that deeply into it. Like, I guess I've been kind of just on the thought process that like this show is not going to have any real like consequence to anything, or anything, and now there seems to be like bigger ties to it, even aside from the Palpatine thing, like the Crimson Dawn thing, Crimson Jack, whatever.
But that's if it even ties in.
I think that's. I think that if that is like the only thing that makes like if they didn't come up with that idea
If they
and the
didn't, it'd be
fans
dumb.
did, it's just another example of how like this how Star Wars fans are like smarter than the people writing these shows because that is such a good idea that like if this guy like his training could have just stopped.
Right, like abruptly.
Yeah. And then he
Abruptly.
just and then Crimson Dawn fell apart.
Yeah, and then
He
him and
went
Brutus
on.
just like left, like went to go do their own thing. I love that thing. Brutus is so cool.
Why is there a reason you think Brutus was with him at this time and that he didn't just pick Brutus up after his alleged time with Crimson Dawn?
I just like to think that, they could use each other's abilities as best as they could. Brutus being able to like control light around him is pretty sick. And then, Jack being able to use the Force. I think it's kind of like a criminal mastermind match made in heaven.
Hmm.
And I think that Maul was a very smart person. He was arrogant, but he was smart. And I think that he would have tried to recruit people that he could use that had abilities. What better way of recruiting Force sensitives and like people, like creatures that had these types of abilities into your syndicate?
Hmm. I like it. It makes sense. It makes sense. Thank you. It makes sense because when he said like I never said that, I was like, how are they gonna like do this now? Like who taught him how to do all this shit? Like
Yeah, if
and
they
I was
just
gonna be like,
play
it's
it
gonna be
off.
some random person like, oh, a Jedi. I met a Jedi fucking on one of my travels. Like it's gonna be so fucking lame. But if it's this, that's fucking cooler than shit. And it like gives him much more depth as like a character of like coming from not like forget about like piracy and all that, right? But like I mean piracy was organized crime,
Yeah,
but like
syndicate.
an actual crime syndicate like Crimson Dawn that was highly organized and had political ties. Like it gives him a lot more depth,
Yeah,
you know. I
which would
like it.
be super. Like, listen, I would really really hope that I mean, listen, again, it's written by the guys that wrote Homecoming and the last couple of Spider-Man movies, and all of them
Did
have
you
been.
see that Favreau and Filoni are executive producers on it? I saw that in the title today in the credits. I didn't know
No, I didn't
that.
know that at all.
I don't know if it's on the whole series or if it's on just this episode. But I saw it right before I turned the show off, and I was like, "Oh shit, okay."
That kind of changes things
I'm looking it up.
because there's no way Filoni would let them call him Crimson Jack.
Well, if he's producing, he doesn't have that much. Well, producers in TV are different than producers in film, but I don't really know in this age of TV if it's the same. It's like reverse. Like I know back in the day, like when you were a producer on in TV, you had much more say of the content, whereas the producer in a film is really just the person who like manages it, organizes it, gets the things that the director needs. Um,
Yeah, but I'm sure like what the hell is his name? Who wrote?
yeah, they're executive producers. But that could just be because he's creative director. But Favreau's not. Like we've had that conversation 100 times. Like Favreau has no tie to Lucasfilm. He doesn't have a position within Lucasfilm. So, um,
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have a lot of faith in John Watts just because like his work with the last couple of Spider-Man movies have been fucking awesome. Um, and there's been a lot of like tie-ins with like random stuff that like, for lack of a better terms, true nerds will pick up on. And I think that he'd put that same level of effort into this like an IP like Star Wars, especially if it's a show that could potentially have larger tie-ins. And I don't think that he would be above reaching out to Dave Filoni and be like, hey, I want to potentially touch this subject. How should I lightly broach it? Oh, I'll call him Crimson Jack. You were so quick to judge when I said I had a theory. And I was waiting for you to shit on it. And you like it. You like that? You like my Crimson Dawn theory?
Yeah.
Now spin on it.
I was trying to look something up, but yeah, I like that. I like the scene with the when they were trying to escape in the ship and like the fuel line was keeping them there, and then when he went to light speed, it didn't just show like it was we were wrong last episode. We were like, oh, there's gonna be this big escape. Like I imagine them like running through that place and blaster fire and all that stuff. But they went a totally different route where it was like they were on the ship and that was their escape, right? And they couldn't get out. And then like when it comes back and it like whips through the whole place and starts fucking people up. That was fucking cool. Yeah,
that was wicked fucking.
Because it was like different.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, I wasn't expecting that like in the slightest bit.
No.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what's going on next episode. I mean, I think next episode we're going to really start to see more, I guess, consequence. Because we have the meeting with the supervisor, potentially. The kids are now in space. KB does not trust him in the slightest bit. I'm really treating the show.
I don't know if any of them now after he said the Jedi thing.
I think he's going to turn women Neil to trust him again very quickly. Fern, I think, is not a lost cause. I just don't think she's going to trust him to begin with, which she has every right not to. But I think KB is 100% the show's moral compass. Which is interesting considering she's a Lobot.
So, I mean, when you say she's the show's moral compass...
Well, like, she's, she's cautious. Like, she's what everyone's feeling. Like, she's cautious.
She's like she's like the
she's
voice
essentially
of the viewer.
Viewers. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Also, I don't like Wim. I said it. I don't feel bad about it.
Why? Because he's like overzealous.
Yeah, he's just wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and he's got his whole life ahead of him, and he's probably gonna end up a first-order soldier.
Well, he's the main character, so he's gonna be like. I mean, that whole like his. The fact that he's like that is why they're in this situation right now.
Yeah, because he fucked over his best friend Neil. And the two gals.
So who do you think the supervisor is?
I don't know. I
mean, I would imagine it's got to be somebody we don't know.
I think it's got to be someone that we don't know, but someone that has connections to someone that we do know.
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna further.
Yeah.
I think what you said about like, if this planet's that rich and I'm financing the First Order and all that stuff. I mean, I hate the fucking sequels, but like that would make sense. That would be an interesting.
Well, I mean, listen.
Thing.
We're going to have to see that eventually. I'd rather it happens now so that we can just focus on the fucking Thrawn trilogy.
I don't think that's going to be a trilogy, dude.
Well, I'd rather just see the Thrawn saga. Like, I'd rather get this piece done now.
Right? Well, I'm sure in some way, shape, or form it's going to connect to it. I think they're going to start trying to connect everything together. I mean, it would make sense that this is somebody who has connections and then has connections down the line as well.
Right.
What if it's Snoke?
No.
It could be.
It could be Snoke. It very well could be Snoke. He was decked out in, like,
gold.
Oh, fuck.
The gold robes.
Snoke. Oh, I hope it's not Snoke.
Like, I hope it's not just because it's related to the sequels, even though like Snoke was cool in the sequels. They just like did him dirty, but he was like a cool character. But wasn't he just like a failed clone of Palpatine in the end? Isn't that what he ended up being?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't.
He wasn't?
No, he was created from scratch, bioengineered to be strong with the Force.
It could be Snoke. It could very well be Snoke.
I would be down with that. I would be down for that because like Snoke was like one of the only cool fucking people. The only cool shit in the sequels was Snoke and Kylo Ren. Those are the cool, and then they did both of them dirty. They did Snoke dirty by just letting him get killed because it's like fucking let's subvert expectations, and then they did Kylo Ren dirty because like they made him come back to the good side. Those are the only two like interesting characters in the sequel trilogy. So like if it was Snoke, as much as I hate the sequel trilogy, like I'd be down to see more of that character because like he was fucking pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, what better way to supervise a planet than with something that you bioengineered to like be a powerful Force user?
Like we said, we don't know how long after Return of the Jedi this is. I don't know if it's been confirmed.
So I think actually
yet.
no, I think it was like 10 years. I heard that on a few different podcasts I was listening to last week.
I think we looked this up last time. It didn't. So it's only like a few years after, 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, which makes you wonder.
But it could have also been that Snoke was hidden away on this planet.
He could have been hidden away
for decades.
years. Well, remember during the like press release for Force Awakens, not the press release, the press tour, whatever, all the stuff that came before, they were saying that Snoke has been around for a long time.
Fuck it, Snoke.
Pulling the strings, they kept saying. He's been pulling the strings in the background and stuff like that. Not necessarily with the Palpatine conflict, but could be with this. He could have been...
What better way to pull the strings with money? And not just like typical...
Well, that's what
Plagueis
did. That's how Plagueis did things, right? He was like super... It's not Plagueis.
No, I know.
But that's how Plagueis did it, with political power and money, because he controlled so many different corporations. Like, it was all politics, and he just got people to do shit for him.
So if Snoke's just running a planet that is mineral rich...
Well, we don't know. Is it mineral rich, or is it just straight credits? Like, is the wealth of this planet, like... not in gold or jewels, but mithril?
Wrong lore. Wrong lore. But I mean, still, like, even if credits, minerals, whatever it is, right? It's clearly the El Dorado of the Star Wars universe, right? So, like, if Snoke is behind consistently making it more and more profitable, more and more valuable, what better way to fucking take that and turn that into the First Order?
Mm-hmm.
And with old Palpatine's, clone ghost thing filling his ear, it makes sense.
So the question becomes like, how long has he been running this planet? Because we don't know how long Palpatine's been trying to do this stuff.
I mean, I would not put it past Sheev to like have a failsafe as soon as Plagueis does.
Well, we know that he had failsafes because like he had contingency plans in case he died, like those bot things you were talking about.
Right, like that
But,
mountain
like-
with all that, like the Jedi stuff and the Sith holocrons from
Yeah, from Battlefront.
yeah.
Yeah, but Mandalorian is where it starts. They're trying to get the DNA. Is that for cloning, or is that like did he start all that years before? Like what? The question, I don't know. The question is how long has Snoke been doing this shit? Because when they showed the Snokes in the vats in like episode 9, he was like fully grown. Remember that?
Right.
So like he just popped out that way, and that was on Exegol.
I mean, it could be very possible that like they grew a Snoke and just placed him there, and he's been there ever since. And any time that one dies, it's a new one's already in the tank, ready to go with the same memories. Essentially, just essence transfer.
You'd have to be there for that. It wouldn't be specifically essence transfer, but I know what you're saying. For essence transfer to work, you have to be like physically there.
So he gets popped out a few minutes before the old man croaks.
Yeah,
and the essence
I don't know.
transfer?
I mean, like,
we don't know.
I think it like. I don't think that's. I don't think that. I think that's more believable than Palpatine running this planet.
Right. I mean, listen, Palpatine running the planet was definitely a stretch, but I think that Snoke is.
It would make more sense.
It would make a lot more sense, and it would give us a lot more tie-ins to the prequels, where we're not just leaving with all these fucking what-if hangers.
The sequels, you mean?
Sequels, yeah. These what-ifs that J.J. Abrams left us with. We're not, we don't have any of these fucking dead ends. So at least things become more cohesive, right? And it's like... more tied together. But we won't know until this is what, a 9-episode series? Think so? Skeleton Crew.
I think 8.
Run. Yeah, 8 episodes. All right, so come next week, we're halfway through the season. So we do have to see some serious consequences this episode and the next. 4 and 5 are going to be fucking heavy. Like a big man on a toilet heavy. Right over your head.
I got it.
I don't think anyone else is talking about this Snoke theory.
Let's find out. I can't believe we're still talking about Snoke theories.
I can't believe it came back.
10 years
somehow
later.
It came back.
There's a couple YouTube videos out there. Could Palpatine or Snoke show up in Skeleton Crew? So this is I don't know, man. I think it's highly I think this makes the most sense that he's running this planet. Palpatine put him there. That's where he gets the fucking cash to start up the First Order. He wears his gold robe.
Flaunts that shit.
I'm not gonna lie. As much as I hate the fucking sequels, if they go see the supervisor, because have they ever said that they've seen him?
I don't think
Or
anyone's
her?
seen him.
Wait, were they referring it to him or her?
I think they were just referring to it as the supervisor.
I would be pretty stoked if person walks out and it's Snoke. As much as I hate the fucking sequels, I like the character.
All right, let's think about this again, because now I'm really getting my mind right in here. When they did that quick pan of the city and that monstrous fucking building.
I don't remember.
So they like do this pan, right? And then there's like this giant dome, which I'm assuming is like a mine of some sort. And then there's like, it looks like it's a government official building, and it's massive, right? I mean, Snoke's a huge dude.
No, he's not.
He's like 7 foot, 8 foot tall.
Oh, yeah, but I don't think you don't need like a massive building for a 7 foot tall person.
If it's gonna be the only place that he's like around in, they're gonna make it comfortable for him.
Well, it's I mean, it's gonna be a palace. Right?
Yeah. Plus, like, you know, they have to have cloning facilities there. They have to have like bioengineering labs there. God forbid something happens.
I think it's a good idea. I think we're onto something.
I think we're cooking with fire here. My back.
I like it. I like the idea.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we'll find out next Tuesday on what we got going on.
What else was there in this?
I think the parents are realizing, or correction, I think Wim's dad is realizing like how fucked of a situation this is, and like I think he definitely feels some guilt of not being there for his kid. I think SM-33 like knows or already knew that Jack was not a Jedi. I think that's like why he's referring to him so sarcastically.
The droid?
Yeah.
I think the droid's just skeptical of everything and everyone.
That's true. I didn't need to see X-Wings. I'll be honest, I like kind of didn't like seeing them. It's like whatever, but
I mean, what else was it? Like she called the New Republic. That's what they use.
True.
At least it like made sense.
At least it wasn't someone that we knew.
That's what I was waiting for when like the pilot landed, and I was like, "Is this gonna be someone we know?"
I thought it was gonna be that one guy from Manda that we see all the time.
The old guy.
Yeah. I was like, please don't be him. Anyone but him.
I don't know. I'm still thinking about the Snoke thing.
I mean, there's got to be some weight to it if other people are thinking about it, right? Like, it just it makes sense. As much as I don't want it to make sense, it makes sense. Because we don't need to see like new. I don't want to say new big bads because we already have quite a few that are in the works right now and like already have plenty of irons in the fire. But I would like to see Snoke get everything tied up. And I would like to see the sequels get some tie-in. So that way it's not just like 3 standalone movies that are horrendous. And I watch them all the time.
Yeah, I don't know why you keep rewatching them. I really don't understand that.
I keep thinking I'm going to find something I like about them, and I never do. And I never do. But that's kind of all I have on this episode, I'll be honest with you. I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much that went on. It was an escape and move on to the next plot thread episode.
Yeah, I'm excited for 5 and 6. I mean, they're not just going to go straight home.
Nah, we know that.
I mean, they're probably going to home at 5, and there's probably going to be like some serious shit that happens on Attin that will force the supervisor's hand.
Yeah, maybe.
But we'll see. But let us know what you guys think. Comments on our Instagram page. Leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you guys listen to your podcasts, really. And we'll see you guys next week.
Daiwana, why go?
Dawana way go?
Why go? Why go?
Ragu.
Ragu.
Hello there.
Prego.
Prego. None of them are really that good.
They're all terrible.
Switch off.
Tutto rosso.